I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew I should have said no. I knew I shouldn't have gone to that party. We get these things and we ignore them, and we shouldn't. So I would say anybody listening, just for a couple of weeks, do a challenge for yourself. Really go with what you feel and see what happens. Magic can happen.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started. Hey everyone, I am super stoked today to introduce my next guest. So this is Patty Aubery. She is a powerhouse of wisdom, creativity, and authenticity. She can be your best friend or the tough love that you need to get unstuck when it seems impossible. She's been there and done it. From her early days of building one of publishing's first billion-dollar brands, Chicken Soup for the Soul, to her current role as the president of Canfield Training Group. Patty has created an inspiring life for herself and others around the world. For the last several years, she's been empowering women to show up more boldly and authentically in their lives with her best-selling book and course, Permission Granted. In it, she teaches clients how granting themselves permission can lead them down a path of fulfilling what they want most out of life. Now, combining her passion for business, building, and her desire to help people live life on their own terms, her latest mission is to help speakers, authors, and coaches create the lives and businesses they've always dreamed of through teaching online programs, providing coaching and mentoring, and running luxury retreats out of her home in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Patty.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Wonderful to see you. And finishing off that bio with luxury retreats in Nashville, Tennessee, I think that's a really great place to start because that's how I got to meet you. And my goodness, it hasn't even been a year. I wrote in my group today, what a difference a year can make. Amazing. So many things. We'll talk about that a little bit today. Have manifested in my life because of meeting you. But one of the things that you told me, and I felt seen by you. I don't know if you know what that means, like what I'm saying by
Yeah.
that, but like I walked through, well, first off, there was like hugs all around, and I was like, what the heck? I don't even know these people. Like, why are they hugging everybody? It must be a Canfield thing, and it was. And then you gave me this big hug. And then as the days went on, you just looked me straight in the eyes and you challenged me to give myself permission to drop my mask. And that was like, talk about tough love. Like that was in your bio. So I loved it. And it's been ringing in my ears ever since. And I'm curious, what are you giving yourself permission to do right now?
Well, actually, I've been giving myself permission to do a complete detox, a holistic detox where off the computer, off work. Literally, I went away for 4 weeks and did a complete holistic whole body, mind, spirit cleanse. It was amazing. And I haven't done it in 7 years. So for me to give myself permission to step away from everything and put myself first, even though I teach it, sometimes it's still hard. So that's kind of my mission right now, and really focusing on my health and the clarity that I need to build the future I want. Because without our health and our brains working like at Mach speed, at least for me, nothing else works. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now.
Oh, and it's visible. What's the first thing I said to you when I saw you come on? I'm like, you look fantastic. You look beautiful. You look radiant. And so it's working, whatever you've just done. So, well, good for you. And you're right. I think it's like the carpenter who doesn't fix their own home. We're
Yeah.
doing it for everyone else, but our roof is leaking. And so that's such a great thing that you've done. And did you go away for that? Like, was it a retreat?
I went away. I went to the Optimum Health Institute in San Diego, and it's hardly a retreat. I
Yeah.
FaceTimed my husband. He's like, "Where are you?"
Is
It's
it like
pretty
a
low
boot camp?
budget. It's definitely, but it's amazing. And everybody that I met there goes back almost every year. I walked with this woman the entire time. Debbie was hysterical. I call her 86. Her name's Krista, but she's 86. And we're probably on our fifth mile. I'm like, so how old are you? I'm thinking 70 something. She says 86. I'm like, what? So yeah, it was interesting. You have to take off your snob hat to go through the gates for sure, but it's worth it. And it's just a ton of water, wheatgrass, juicing, light exercise, and just really being with yourself. And I teach, women to give themselves permission to put themselves first. So I have to sort of be a good example. So by teaching these courses and doing this work, it kind of holds me to my own stuff. But I was a little off track, so I'm glad I'm back.
That's awesome. Well, it's all over you and definitely flowing from your energy. And talking about energy, so you have a friend, her name is Erin Saxton. Started out as a colleague, I understand. And another lady, Darlene Whitehurst, who I also got to meet. These ladies are powerhouse, just like you in your bio. And so I'm curious, how do you cultivate these friendships? Like, you're all such amazing women up to big things in the world. And yet, since I've met you and I've only known you for a short time, you like I feel like I'm a friend with you. Like, you have that ability to make people feel that way. And I know that it is the real deal. So how do you find time to cultivate these friendships?
I don't know, it's in my DNA, I want to say, but I think for me, I'm pretty selective too about who I'm friends with. And, growing up raising chickens basically and starting Chicken Soup for the Soul at such an early age, I was in my late 20s. I learned quickly who was around you because they wanted to grow, who was around you because they wanted something, and who was around you just because they loved you for who you were. And so, I'm turning 59 in a few months. So for me, it's like, I only want to be around people that love me for who I am at this point. And I also only want to be around clients who I know are willing to accept that sort of strong arm a little bit, but are wanting to really go to the next level. And that's why I kind of, I'm a little bit tough, but I mean well, and I'm very transparent. And I am not the straight A student from Harvard. I'm an average person that has a crazy mind. And I think by growing up and not having a lot and having to figure out how to get what I wanted and bootstrap things and grassroots things all together, especially with Chicken Soup, I just sort of learned that relationship capital is more important than anything. Never burn a bridge, and choose wisely. And so that's what I've done. And I met Erin early on in my career, and it was a funny story because she sent a proposal in and then followed up with a phone call, and my assistant said, do you know who Patty Aubery is? She doesn't just take any phone call. And she was a bit rude actually. And so this packet lands on my desk, and I'm very impressed. It's called the Idea Network at the time. And I said, hey, can you get this gal Erin Saxton on the phone? And she said, okay. She said, I just told her, nobody gets through to you. I said, I want to talk to her. And so that year, I think a couple months later, we met in Chicago at Book Expo of America and started working together. She probably promoted, I don't know, 30 titles for me. And we've been thick as thieves and friends ever since. And Darlene is very similar. She came to a luxury retreat that I had at my house in Maui. And she walked in her stilettos and her little girlfriend's workbook, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to sell my company and quit my job, and I'm going to do this. And I said, wait, hold on, not yet. Don't quit your day job just yet. Let's get really clear about your message, who your audience is, what you want to do. We laugh now because it's 11 years later. Literally, it's 11 years later, and she just now like closed her company, sold her company off. She's like, thank God I listened. I probably would have been in the bread line for a while. But she's great. I'm going to see her on Friday. She's amazing. She's
Oh,
brilliant.
give her my love.
I will.
And Erin, so this is what's so phenomenal about listening to your intuition. When I got the invitation to come to the luxury retreat And I did that. And I came to your home in Nashville, spent 5 days with you and Jack Canfield. Afterwards, we had a post retreat call, and you had an expert, and you had your bestie Erin on there, and I got to be in a hot seat with her, and then I DM'd her and I said, how can I support you? And she's like, well, I want to start an affordable business program for women. I'm like, I want to start an affordable business program with women. And it was literally over DM. That's how this program that we've been running for the last 6 months got created, and we're going to be doing another. So again, so grateful that I get to work with Erin and that you've introduced us. And that's how magic happens. And it's just a single decision, an idea that, when you use these universal laws, that when you promote them and you follow your intuition, which actually that leads me to the next thing around following your intuition. I just finished your book, and again, I got it last June. I started it, put it back down because there's a variety of stories and permission granted. So your book, and I just finished it. I was sitting on the beach, so I wasn't at a detox center, but I was on the beach. But what I noticed was there seemed to be a running theme with every single woman, and like you see all the women on the back, there's a lot and from various backgrounds, but it was like listening to the intuitive nudge,
Mm-hmm.
having that inner knowing. Every one of them spoke about that, and that's actually my story too, and I find that so interesting. um, did you notice that, or was that an intentional piece with it as you put this book together?
It wasn't intentional, but a lot of the women that were in that book were in a program with me for a year. So it was really about following your intuition, listening to that inner voice. You get out of the shower, you have this idea, go act on it right then. Whenever I always say if something comes up through you, it needs to come out of you. And in today's world, with all the marketing and all the chaos and all the ads and all the glitz and glamour and Facebook this and Instagram that and filter, we lose track and we start to overthink what we should do. And we sort of give our power away. Like, I don't even know to who half the time. And so for me, it's all about like going within and listening to those little things saying, you should start a podcast, which probably came to you and which is why you're here. And so it's really taking action on those things. And when you do, they are there for a reason. I mean, my most intuitive ideas, those thoughts that came to me, the big crazy ideas, have been my most profitable, fun, passionate products that I've ever created. And so I think it's really important for us to listen, but we have to be quiet enough to listen. We have to take the time to do meditation, to sit with things and just trust whatever shows up is meant to be. And I love the fact that the two of you connected and became partners in this, because I'm going to count that now as my third matchmake. So I have my son and his fiance who are getting married at the end of March. I have Jody Schwartz and Ivan Meisner who got married in December, and you and Aaron are partners. So I think I'm three. I think in the Jewish religion that means something.
We're not getting married, but we are definitely. she's
Maybe it's
she's
any
my
partnership.
she's
I don't
my
know.
husband,
Yeah, they call me the matchmaker. So there you
or the
go.
wife.
Hopefully
Yeah,
we get a good match.
for sure. We got to meet each other first time in person actually a few weeks ago, and it was magical. So yes, you can take full credit for that, and I'm so forever grateful. So one of the things though is that you're like, I see you on social media. I just saw a reel of you, and I see you, in front of all these people, like hundreds, thousands of people. How do you set boundaries to remain vulnerable and authentic? So permission granted to be your complete vulnerable self, and yet maintain your energy. So protect your energy. I'm curious about that.
I think it's easier for me to be my transparent, authentic, vulnerable self because that's just who I am. Then if I was trying to be something else, it would be harder to protect my energy. Honestly, it would take more energy because I'm trying to be somebody I'm not.
Hmm.
And so it's not that difficult for me. And that's why I go to places like Optimum Health. That's why I spent, 2 hours this morning on an 8-mile walk looking at the ocean. Like I know where I have to ground myself, and I do. And I know I can go. So if I just came home from 7 weeks on the road, I knew I had 7 weeks. So I prepared for 7 weeks mentally, physically, emotionally. And then I got home and it's just me and my dog, and so I take that time. It's not for everybody, for sure. For me, a complete extrovert, so it doesn't hurt too bad. Every now and then I'll have a moment, but then boundaries too. Again, it's that intuitive feeling of why am I starting to feel pulled at, or why am I starting to feel like there's a vampire in the room. So I'm just protective of what I need to do, and that's where I kind of hold my boundaries. And I can
Yeah.
always work on boundaries. I mean, I don't know who can't. I'm not the queen of boundaries, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I love that using your intuition even within that instance as well. And the idea of the vampire, or like you said earlier about trying to get something from you. And yeah, you know,
Well, and how many times have you thought, like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew I should have said no. I knew I shouldn't have gone to that party. I knew, we get these things and we ignore them, and we shouldn't. So I would say anybody listening, just for a couple weeks, do a challenge for yourself. Really go with what you feel and see what happens. Magic can happen.
absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned about your child. So you have a son or a daughter? Son?
I have two boys,
Two
two
boys.
sons.
So being, I mean, I know you're very modest and humble, but being wealthy and as a wealthy parent, and you've had success. So let's say success or wealth, and raising children. There's a challenge to do it in poverty. There's a challenge, I'm sure, to do it in terms of wealth. So how do you keep your kids grounded? Now I know they're adults, but even so, I mean, I have adult children, and there's conversations I need to have with them sometimes too. So how do you ensure that your kids are balanced and yet have a fulfilled life with the notoriety that you have, the celebrity status that you have? Yeah, I'm just curious about that.
Well, I mean, my kids grew up in a small community, so they it's not like we live in Los Angeles or Beverly Hills and we're driving Rolls Royces around and things like that. Um, I think having a husband who is totally grounded, who, plays golf 7 days a week and goes to every football game and soccer game and volleyball game and coaches half their stuff and takes them camping and water skiing and all that stuff helped a lot. I mean, I don't know where there would be if it was just me, trust me. So I had help there. I had a great nanny who helped me throughout the years. She's still part of our family. She's like 43 now. She started
Hmm.
at 20. And consistency, a small school. They did go to a small private school because I wasn't always around. So I wanted to be able to check in with the teachers. And I was very close with the faculty, and they would come for dinner. And so I had to set it up in a way that worked. And there was some guilt and shame about that stuff as the kids were growing up and they were little, because when I got pregnant with my oldest, who just turned 29, chicken soup just took off. It just started to take off. It wasn't really there yet, but it had legs. And I had to make a decision. Do I quit my job and stay home, or do I do this? And after 5 years of trying to make something work, I was most likely not going to stay home. And so I had to really struggle with it a little bit and know, like, I was the working mom in the neighborhood. But Jack lives around the corner from me. We built up, a nice uh, lifestyle by having our office was around the corner. So we had the kids could be there. I mean, we made it life friendly, I guess. And he had a young son at the time too. So that part was easy. And then my boys, I mean, for the most part, they just thought their mom made chicken soup and their dad made golf bags.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. One of my favorite stories that you told, I forget which retreat, because I've been at two now in this past year, was one with the luxury retreat, and then I came to Destin, Florida with you. And you talked about, I love the contrast, because you talked about, I think, showing up like really casual in an airport line, like I think like jean shorts and a t-shirt kind of thing. And you got sort of looked down the nose at. And then I've also heard you talk, and I've never thought about a private plane like this. Like it's a plane with seats with no numbers. And I use that all the time. I love that description. So yeah, so tell me a little bit about, if you wouldn't mind just sharing that story about being in line.
So I think I was going to Book Expo, and I had cut off jean shorts and a t-shirt on. I was in the first class line. And this woman says, this is for first class only. And I was, I don't know, maybe 29. And I said, and what's your point? She's like, whoops. I said, for me, success is being able to show up in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yes.
And then I wrote a letter to the airline and I got a few free tickets. So there's that side of the spectrum. And then the other side is my publisher ended up with a very nice airplane based on chicken soup because it sold so well. And he was the only guy that believed in us in the whole world. So he deserved that big plane. But it would pick us up quite often and take us places, and the kids too. And I always said, it's so, I love my plane without seat numbers. It's so much nicer. And the reason why that even came up was because I actually flew home private to meet Jack Canfield in Santa Barbara, to fly public to Arizona to do a workshop, and I left my phone at LAX airport. And I said, this is what happens when you fly on planes with seat numbers. But I did it because I wasn't going to be a snob and leave him commercial when I was going private. So
Right, right.
bit the bullet and I went public with them.
That's awesome. That's such a great story. I love it. So we're talking about your kids, but for you as little girl, Patty, who was an influence in your childhood? I often find manifestors, giant manifestors like you, had some person that supported their visionary outlook. Is that the case for you?
I think my dad was in sales and marketing, so he was kind of that person a little bit. My grandmother was really supportive of me very early on. I would sit in my grandmother's closet at 5 for hours and hours and sort out all of her jewelry and lay it out. I didn't know I was visualizing diamonds at 5, but I was. And it worked out well. Thank you for that visualization. But then I started interning for my father, and he was one of the top executives at Nature Made Vitamins. And then I met the founders of that, and I worked directly with the senior vice president of operations, who went on to be like the chief visionary officer of Herbalife and all kinds of things. And I think those guys really taught me more about entrepreneurship and what you had to do to get there. And I was just kind of an oddball in my family. I knew I wanted nice things. I was driven, and I don't. My dad would say, "I'm not sure if you're really one of ours." Because
If you
I
really
was one of
pardon?
4 kids. What's that?
Oh, oh. So the little girl that was visioning, playing with her grandma's diamonds or jewels, let's say, do you still have a vision board?
Yes.
You
Yep.
do.
Yes.
And now I can respect, I don't need to know the details. It's a very private, intimate experience. But one question I'm thinking about is, do you have a Santa gift on your board? Meaning, I refer to it like that because it's something that maybe you wouldn't necessarily buy for yourself. Now I think you're pretty, like, if you want to buy it, you will. But yeah, I'm just gonna ask the question. Do you have a
Well,
Santa
I
gift?
did for years. So, I have a Rolex watch that is like the famous watch, really, if you follow me. Not really follow me if you see me in person, because I don't really talk about this on social. But I found this Rolex that was beautiful when I was in Hawaii. It was like 2004. And I was in Wailea and Maui, and I was just shopping. And it was this 9 carat diamond Rolex, but it had these beautiful big sapphires along the bracelet part. And I called my office and I was talking with Jack, my partner. I said, I don't know. I just love this. I don't even like Rolex, but I love this watch. And he said, well, why don't you put it on your vision board? And if we ever make a certain amount of money in a day, I'll buy it for you. And so I had that watch on my vision board for 4 years. So that was April 8th, 2004. On April 8th, 2008, we sold our company, and I was in Maui. And I called him and I said, I have good news and great news. And he said, what's the good news? I said, the good news is you should check your Schwab account. And he said, well, then what's the great news? And I said, I'm at the Rolex store in Wailea. It's time to buy the watch. And he was like, ah. And then we come to find out they no longer had sapphire. So it was only all diamonds. So it was a lot more money. So I said, okay, I'll only hold you to the part that you agreed to, and I'll pay the difference. And so I wear the same watch every single day to remind me that anything is possible. It tells horrible time. I should probably have an iWatch, but I don't. I look at my phone because I don't take this off. It's a symbol of persistence pays off and how important it is to put things on your vision board that you don't think are possible. Because never in my life did I dream that I would buy a six-figure watch.
And I just note for everyone listening, it took 4 years.
Yeah.
There is, and I've manifested as quick as 5 weeks. I mean, Patty, I mean, the fact that all this has happened last year, like so much has happened, this podcast, people have been meeting, like that has just been extraordinary. So it can happen very quickly, but there is also sometimes this need for patience
Yeah.
and for the gestation period. And sometimes it takes a whole lot of slow to grow. And it was just the
Absolutely.
right time. But I do love the coincidence, and I'm saying this in air quotes, of the date, that it was to the same month and day.
The same day. I mean, it's crazy.
Amazing.
And that was in a horrible market where banks were closing. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to actually close. But the one thing I've always done for the most part in my career is I've spent 95% of my time visualizing what I want and only 5% making a plan on if what I want doesn't happen, what's plan B. I make that up front, I put it aside, I forget about it. I really go for if it was possible, what would it look like? Well, if it had to be, how would we do it? Who do we need to ask for? What do we need to know? Who do I need to know? I mean, just on and on and on. And it works. It really does work because that vibration is a vibration that people want to be around. The vibration of I'm afraid I'm not going to get it and now I'm desperate, that's a gross vibration and nobody wants to be there. And so when we go into a place of I'm not enough or I don't have enough, you have to remember that you're going to create that. So I always say scare yourself straight. Know if you have that thought for more than 17 seconds, you're going to own it. So don't have it. It's not serving you on any level. It's just not. Easier said than done, but it's fun to make it a game. We have a law of attraction evidence board in our office. And every time something happens that's on a vision board, it goes on the evidence board. So once a vision is created, it goes off the vision board onto the evidence board. Something new comes onto the vision board. But every time I go down or I look, I start to go into that zone of like, things are hard. Just go back and look at your evidence board.
Very cool. I have to think about that, incorporating that into my
Yeah,
methodology. I like that. I like that a lot.
absolutely.
Very
Because think
cool.
about
Okay,
it.
this is like a random question, but when I first met you, and I've noticed you love hats, right? So
Mhm.
what's with the hats? Like, is it just a fashion statement? Is it like, I'm just curious about that in terms of your self image, and just do you just love them, or why do you wear hats?
I have a certain hat that I love and it's an air fryer hat. And I got it in New York from this designer. And so I wear them all the time. And right now I'm out of hats because I've given both of them away to friends because everybody loves it.
Oh,
So if I go visit somebody for a week or something, I keep the hat. So I have to order more hats. And it's also because I travel so much that sometimes my roots look like crap. So I wear a hat.
good one. That's true. 7 weeks on the road last time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Lashes and roots and nails.
Not a good thing for me.
So, what is next for you?
That's a good question. Um, Permission granted will always be really close to my heart. I'm thinking about creating a new version of a book around that. So it will include stories from different people, but also it'll be more linear on steps. So it'll probably be like a 12-step process to giving yourself permission to live your best life. And that'll come out sometime in 2025. And between now and then, I'm running luxury retreats. I'm still doing a lot of consulting for authors, speakers, and coaches. I really love to help women show up, speak up, and be seen. And I love to teach that piece of it because for so long, I hid behind the fact that I was the president of Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I didn't really embrace my speaker side, my coaching side. I was hiding behind my business skill set. And so to bring that out and to wait so long, I don't want other women to wait to share their message as long as I did. So My real passion is helping them find their voice, creating a great keynote, an outline for their book or their program, whatever it looks like, but to get it down really well and grounded before they go running off to the land of digital and, Crazyville, and start taking all kinds of courses before they're ready to do what's needed. So I always say, if you get on my train, I won't let you off in a bad neighborhood.
That's true. Very true. And, a couple of steps that you did for me was when I was at the retreat, you and Jack helped me curate my purpose statement. And it, like, shortened version is, when I shine bright, others can't help but shine brighter too. I have that actually on video. And then in the book, you signed this. I mean, it just all connects. Of course it does. It says, Debbie, it's time to give yourself permission to shine. And so the program that I'm doing with Aaron is called Dare to Shine. And so it just all comes full circle. And so you absolutely supported me to find my voice, to take off the mask, to be my most authentic self, to give myself permission to do that. And, I'm so excited for what's next as well for Dare to Declare. And I'm just so appreciative to you and to Jack. And I'm just, thank you so much for this. And where can people find you? I'm assuming, is it like your website, or where's the best place for people to connect with you to find out about these programs and the new book you've got?
Yeah, you can follow me on pattyaubery.com, and it's Aubery, not Aubrey. So it's aubery.com. And everything's there. And anything new that's coming out, if you opt in, I have a couple different free downloads, especially if you're an author, speaker, or trainer. I have some cheat sheets and different ways that I remember what I'm going to say when I'm on stage, if you're interested in that. And by opting in, you'll get all the latest and greatest of what I'm up to.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has just been so fun, and I adore you. And I'm just, as I said, very grateful.
Oh, well, I'm grateful for you. You run one heck of a vision board party. So if anybody out there is listening and they want to get certified in vision boarding, Debbie is your gal. So make sure you check it out.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY vision board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this: flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view, or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers, this course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbiesluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.